Hi, my name is Barry Woltagen, and this will be a demo of the Informatica Total Supplier Relationship solution. We're going to go through a number of scenarios here, so we will be looking at supplier registration and onboarding. From there, we will look at the approval by the buyer of the supplier, which has just registered. We'll look at the supplier's view and some options and a dashboard, and also the buyer's view, the options and the dashboard. All right. So first off, when I log on to the supplier registration and onboarding, this is where the supplier can actually register and sign up. So when I click on sign up, all I need to do as a new supplier is add my company name, add a valid email address, and give a password. There we go. And from there we click on continue. Save this. And this will take me to a registration form, and in the registration form I can basically fill out some information such as first name, last name, and some other either mandatory or non-mandatory information. And when I'm done, all I need to do is click on register, and that will make me register as a new supplier. From there, the buyer is actually notified that a person has registered. And we'll look at that a little bit later. But once the supplier has registered, we can go back to the supplier portal. Once the registration is confirmed, then we can go in and log on as a supplier. Okay, click on log on. Now, as a new supplier, I need to complete my application before it can actually be approved by a buyer. Up here, there are a number of steps which we will go through, and I will show you what kind of information is asked, and also how you can customize this as a procurement organization. So first off, we see the application completeness. Currently that's at 60%, and we need to fill out a number of additional details. So when I click on next, here we need to fill out some additional information, such as a DUNS number, maybe a tax ID number. We could also add a company address, or multiple addresses, either shipping addresses or billing addresses, and so on. And we can add some URLs and some other basic contact information. When we click on next, we come to some information about the company, and this is more about the legal structure, things like facts and figures, annual sales revenue, and also if and who the executive board members are. And this could be interesting for a buyer organization to understand what the exposure is should some board members have a certain reputation or are involved in things that you as a company don't really want to be brought into connection with. So you can add some of this over here as well. When we click on next, this is where the supplier can actually select which kind of products and services it delivers. And these products and services, these can be configured based on what you as a organization require or are asking from your suppliers, and then the supplier can go in and add tick boxes to whatever it is able to provide you with in terms of products and services. next. Here we can add some more detailed tax information, which could be useful for the buyer organization or procurement organization. When we hit next, we can also add some bank accounts from which and to which payments are paid and can be received in terms of RMAs and those kind of things. So when we click on next, sometimes a particular commodity needs to be insured, so you can add any insurance details from the supplier over here. Hit next, and also as a supplier, I can then add any references that I might want to provide to the buyer organization, and this obviously increases the trust that the buyer organization can have in me as a supplier. And usually this is a mandatory thing. So when we click next, sometimes I as a supplier will make use of so-called sub-suppliers to deliver some of my services. So I may be the maker of a product but not necessarily do the delivery part. Or I may be using other third parties to make some of my products. So I can list them here, and again, this is also to understand the relational structure of products and goods and services that are delivered, but also to understand if there is any exposure to suppliers and sub-suppliers. Should a sub-supplier have a problem, then I, as a buyer organization, I would like to know and be notified about this. And by registering them here, we already have that information. When I click next, I as a buyer organization can add some product-related questions, and this obviously depends on the step where we could select the products that I deliver. The products and services, and we could add some very specific product and services related questions here, and these are completely configurable. So anything you would like to know from the supplier in terms of what about the products and services that they deliver, you can create a questionnaire over here for the supplier to fill this out. Last but not least, slide 11 or step 11, and this is where we can add some documents, so such as the insurance certificate or any other regulatory documents or any other letters or information that may be relevant for the supplier to hand over to the buyer organization. Those can be attached over here. Okay, so when everything is done, as a supplier and I've filled out all these steps, then I can preview the information and submit the actual records. So when we hit preview, again I get an overview of all the information which I've supplied to the buyer organization. And once I'm done, I hit submit, and then the information is submitted, and it starts a approval workflow for which the buyer, in this case, will need to approve my application as a supplier. So let's go have a look at that. So is the buyer side of the solution. So I'm going to log on as a commodity manager, and when I log on, it brings me to a start page where I get to see all my tasks and any statistics that are relevant to me as a buyer in the buyer organization. So what we see over here is a list of all these tasks. Now we can see that I have to review some new supplier requests. You also see what kind of priority there is, a due date, the status, etc., etc. And over here we have some statistical information, basically some dashboarding, which has information about my suppliers. So I'm actually going to click on a new supplier request, choose this one. And what I get to see then is all the information that the supplier has put into the template and the solution. I can have a look at all the information that was supplied from the supplier portal. So things like electronic addresses and phone communication, email, and so on and so forth. Also, any of the bank details and reference details, anything that any information that the supplier has put in, I can view that over here. So I can then either change some of that information or have a look at some information and add some to it. And once I'm done, all I need to do is then accept the changes, and this will then go to the next person in line in the workflow for approval of this actual supplier. Okay. Now, once the supplier is then approved, the supplier will receive an email from the company saying, first off, thank you for registering. This is where the information needed to be supplied, and some information was then completed. And finally, we are welcoming you as an approved Informatica supplier. You can start supplying stuff to us. All right. So now that the supplier is approved, he or she will get a different view in the supplier portal. So let's cancel this. And let's sign in, this time as an approved supplier. Log in. This takes me to the dashboard of the supplier. So I, as a supplier, I have a timeline overview of any of the activities that took place on my information. What we also see is any alerts that are relevant to me. So the address has been updated. In this case, I can have a look at any catalogs that I can upload, any documents or certifications that are due for renewal in here. On the supplier portal, this is the dashboard look. I can have a look at the catalog, so this is where I can upload some of that data. Any media assets that require some uploading, I can have a look at the catalog from here and edit any of the information which fits in there. Click on any of these items. I get a detailed view, preview any media assets that are associated with it as well. In this case, there aren't any. I can also review any of the information which I was also required to put in when I was still applying for a approved supplier status. I can see that over here. So also those product-related questions which are configurable, and which products and services that I provide to the company. I can update that information over here. Okay, and from a supplier side, from a buyer side, if I look at some of the analytics that can be associated with this, so if I log out here and I log in as administrator, again, as an administrator, I get an overview of everything, but tasks are not necessarily assigned to me, but I get an overview here of any information that is related to all of my suppliers, and can do some drill down on of this. I can also have a look at the suppliers themselves. So if I click on the data tab, and I can then look for a particular supplier and look that up. So if we click on this record, you see all the information over here which was provided by Philfab. And I can have a look at the cross-references for Philfab. So this shows me where this information was actually entered and where other instances of this so-called golden supplier record reside. And we can see that I, as an administrator, through the admin system, which is what you're looking at right now, I added a NAICS code, which is site construction for this record. We can also have a look at the history. And this shows when any changes were made to the record, indicated by these little black dots over here. From there, I can have a look at the details of such an event, and I can also look back in time and see what a record looked like on a particular date in time, and this then gives me some details on how that record looked like on that particular date. This is interesting to know if any changes were made, obviously over time. We can also have a look at effective periods, when certain information was effective, and so on and so forth. Also, we can create what we call a 360-degree view of the supplier, and this gives me a slightly different insight. So I still get the company overview, which comes from the TSR solution, but also I get any additional information which could come from the TSR solution, but could also come from other systems where the supplier is registered, and basically give you a complete overview of all information which is related to this particular supplier in one single overview. Last but not least, we were interested in some of the relationships that were associated with this supplier. Now, this supplier doesn't have a hugely complex hierarchy. And again, this is just a demo, so to show you what this is capable of. So, for instance, Philfab could have a relationship with Steve Smith, but also with an address or a location. And in this case, that location is a shipping address. And you can imagine that Philfab could belong to a parent company or a holding company, which could be a D&D parent, and could have a relationship with other products that you supply. And this basically means you can have multiple hierarchies in here to display all of that information from the hierarchy view. And this view can be embedded in any external applications as well, to enrich those applications and fuel those with clean, connected, and mastered data. All right, this was a brief overview of the Informatica TSR solution. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if there are any questions in the comments below. For now, thank you and goodbye.